welcome everyone. Happy Wednesday. We are back on Pavan's Perspective with Pavan Agarwal himself. And I didn't get a chance to tune up my singing voice yet, so I'm going to leave it to our special guest. Pavan, would you like to introduce him?
Well, you were like, I would say Vanessa was the #1 fan and you were the #2 fan. I think it's better you introduce him and scream like the way you screamed when I told you who we're going to have today.
So yes, I was very excited. All of my boy band dreams are coming true today. We have Jeff Timmons of 98 Degrees on the podcast today. And we also ran a fun contest amongst our employees to see who the #1 fan was. And it was Vanessa Torres won the contest. So she's going to be taken on as co-pilot today for Pavan, and I'll just be in the jump seat over here.
Yes. So I wouldn't say she still is the #1 fan.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yes. It's been a long time. I mean, I love your music. The band 98 Degrees. I was just telling Pavan right before the show that, I used to listen to it, my friends, and when I heard he was going to be interviewing you, and he said, well, let's have the contest. I said, I'm going to win this. And I got over 3,000 views on TikTok. So Pavan said, okay, you're the winner. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited now. I'm kind of shy. What am I going to say? What am I going to ask? But I'm happy to be here, and I'm flattered to get to talk to you. I'm sure a lot of people will be so jealous.
Well, look, I'm flattered and honored to be with you guys. Thanks for the invitation. I appreciate you promoting it, doing the contest. I mean, 3,000 views in just a couple of days. I'm going to hire you to be on our promotional team. I mean, that's incredible. No, it's truly an honor, and of course, always flattered and excited to talk about our story and share it with your audience. And congrats on all of your success individually and collectively. And like I said, I'm excited to talk about whatever you want to talk about today and share it with your audience.
So one of the things I found interesting is that my two favorite bands coincidentally happen to both come from Ohio. 98 Degrees. Right? And I think all of you are from Ohio, right? All 4 members of the band.
We are
4 or 5. Yeah,
we're a 4-part group, and 3 of the guys are from Cincinnati, and I'm from a small town called Massillon, which is by Canton, Ohio, northeast, where the Football Hall of Fame is.
Yeah, and my most favorite band of all time, Marilyn Manson, is from Ohio.
And surprisingly, he's from the same small area that I'm from. So he went to competitive high school. Now I want to say he's much older than I am. He's not. He's only a couple years older, but he went to a high school called Glen Oak High School, and I'm from right down the street, Massillon. So if you really are, now I know we're probably not one of your favorite bands, but I'll take it nonetheless. But Marilyn Manson is massive star, and also that being from that small of a town, it's kind of an anomaly that we kind of both came from there. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm a big fan of all kinds of music. And to be honest, my top bands would be like Van Halen and Led Zeppelin.
Incredible. Right. Legends, of course. So those are on the top of many people's lists. So great groups.
Right. But 98 Degrees, I do like the music a lot.
Thank you.
It is very, very, very good, high quality music. And that's and again, I'm honored to have you on our podcast. So how does a couple of kids from Ohio go multiple platinum and, multiple award-winning band, and you guys did it without any corporate backing?
Yeah. I mean, look, obviously there is a machine behind music. It is a business like everybody else, but we didn't have that in the beginning. And like most artists, you don't have it in the beginning. But even after we were starting to have success, it took us a long time to get the major label that we were signed with convinced to invest in us as a group. Being from a small town, I'm from a really small town. It's a football town. When you're born, where I'm from, they put a football. If you're a boy, they put a football in your crib at the hospital. So that's how infatuated they are with sports there. And I love football, but obviously didn't have the size and ability to go pro, although that's what's encouraged where we're from. And I just had an affinity and sort of a knack for the arts. It wasn't cool, where I grew up, but it always came easy to me. It was something that I enjoyed, and in addition to sports, and really was bouncing around from college to college. Was a good student in high school, not so much in college. I had my independence and was partying and having fun and away from my parents. And I was at my fourth college and was probably had about a quarter left before I graduated. And there were some girls that we were trying to get attention of at a party, and these girls were talking about these guys that sang for them, and literally it was not anything other. It was that shallow. It was to try to impress the girls at this party. So I had 4 of my friends there that I went to high school with, and we're also going to school with. It was also going to school with at college, and we went into the bathroom, and I said, "All right, you sing this part, you sing this part, you sing this part. We're going to sing a cappella. We're going to blow these girls away, and they're going to give us all the attention in the world." And so we went out there and sang. We thought it was good. It probably wasn't. Now looking back, but nonetheless accomplished the goal of getting attention. But what was very interesting to me, having had experience in groups like this and barbershop quartets and things like that growing up, is it did sound pretty good. So I was like, look, guys, we might be onto something. And so literally I called my mom that night, and she probably thought I was drunk. And I was like, I'm going to quit school. I'm going to start this group. And literally after that, sort of focused on that. And then, you didn't have the ability to do a Zoom or get your music out on DSPs like Spotify and Pandora and any of those bells and whistles. You literally had to either go to LA or New York or Nashville to be discovered. So we picked up and went to LA and started bouncing around, singing a cappella every place and getting attention of people like James Brown and this lady named Anise Parker, who managed Michael Jackson. And we were just about to get signed. And the original members of my group, they got homesick, and it became very real very fast. And being a success story like you guys you 3 are very successful, that often people are afraid of success. And I think that the guys I was involved with were afraid it was really going to happen, and we were going to make it in LA, and they went home for Thanksgiving and never came back. So I decided to stay in LA and start again and put ads in the newspaper. There was no social media, so you couldn't just make a post and have videos. I literally had to go to work and work 12-hour shifts doing security at clubs and Phil Collins's estate when it was being built, and had to grind and audition people in LA. And ironically, I could not find anybody in LA. It's supposed to be the entertainment capital of the world, and couldn't find anybody that didn't have the dedication or drive or work ethic or look or a combination or any of those things. And eventually I met a guy that went to school with Nick, who's in my group, and he was from Ohio, and he was like, look, you got to hear this guy sing. And I heard him on tape. I didn't even see what he looked like. I couldn't look him up on Facebook. I talked to him on the phone. I was like, look, I love your voice. This guy says you're an amazing person. Can you come out to LA and join my group? And I didn't see what Nick looked like until he got to LA, until he drove cross country to LA. And we met for the first time when he joined the group in North Hollywood there. And then eventually he brought his brother out, and Justin, who they went to school with, and that's how we got started. And we started in LA. So I know it's a long story, but it's kind of a weird one.
It's a great story. Now, say again, where was Nick at when you called him?
He was going to school at Miami of Ohio. So I convinced him that it would be in his best interest to quit college and join me in LA for my random pop group. And we were heavily inspired by Boyz II Men. We're considered what is now called a boy band. And at that time, that was sort of a manufactured idea, and people had preconceived ideas about that. There weren't any in existence at that time. There was just Boyz II Men and groups like that, R&B pop groups, and we were heavily influenced by them. So he liked that similar kind of music, and they did, and that's how we ended up formulating and starting our group and our journey in 98 Degrees. It was in LA.
So I have a question from my 2 co-pilots. What are your 2 favorite songs? Each of you, what are your favorite songs? And
Because of You. That's my favorite one.
Nice. Thank you. Awesome.
How about you, Angel?
Put us on the map, that one, Because of You.
I liked The Hardest Thing. That was a real tearjerker. It was a good one.
A lot of people related to that song. It's funny, I have a story about The Hardest Thing. We were almost finished with our album at that time, and we didn't have enough songs on the record. and we had to record one more. And we had a bunch of demos that people had sent in and the label had presented us with. And I had listened to that song, and our management, we liked that song, and the guys did not want to record that song. They thought it was cheesy and they were over it. And that ended up becoming one of our biggest hits. And that goes to show you sometimes you don't really know what's best of you as an artist, right? You sort of get clouded and you overthink things, but that song was clearly a hit and ended up being probably, one of our biggest hits, and it was one of our biggest selling songs of all time. So I appreciate you guys even knowing those songs and liking them. So thank you.
I have a question. How do you come up with the name 98 Degrees?
It's a good question, and we lied about it for years, So we couldn't come up with a good name. Originally, we were called Just Us, but that was the name of the original group. So the new guys, wanted their own name, and we got signed, and the label was like, Just Us is bad. You need to come up with a different name, and we were all writing down these wish list of names. They were terrible. We had Verse 4 and Forte and a Next Issue, which is kind of like New Edition, and we couldn't think of a good name. And our manager, his girlfriend, his fiance at the time, was beautiful, and she had a bunch of good looking friends that were with her, and they were like, what about 98 Degrees? And they could have said a cardboard box and we would have picked it. So anyway, that's what we ended up calling ourselves, and ultimately we kind of related it to our music, which are love songs and body temperature and heat, this and that. But really it was for a lack of a better name in the beginning. But for years we were trying to figure out what we'd say, and then finally we just came clean and told people we couldn't think of a better name. And it ended up working because of the logo, and the name stuck out and was unique. So it was a good branding aspect to add to our career. So it's a good question.
I like what you said about the hardest thing, where you guys got it right, but the record company got it wrong. And
well, it was actually the record company that got it right. So we didn't want to record it. The group didn't want to record it. Usually the record company does get it wrong. Don't be fooled. A lot of times they don't know what they're doing, and it's usually a bunch of older guys or former artists that didn't make it that end up running the record companies. Not all of them. Some of them were brilliant, but in our case, we picked most of our songs and ended up kind of creating the embodiment of the work ourselves. But in this case, it was a surefire hit that we didn't want to record. We thought it was cheesy. We didn't like the words. There's a lyric in there called Dr. Zhivago, which nobody really knows about unless you're like 60 years old. It's an old movie. But ultimately, the song just sounds good. And it's a relatable song. It's about being in love with two people at the same time, and there's some depth to the lyrical content, and we ended up recording it. And ultimately, we didn't even want to put it on the album after we recorded it. And then eventually we kind of just sat there and played it for a bunch of people, and they're like, that's my favorite song on the album. We kept saying, don't say that. This one's better. And they were like, no, that's our favorite song on the album. And ultimately, you got to listen to what everybody else says. I mean, unless you have the conviction and you're 100% staunch in your position on it, you kind of got to take the feedback from the fans, right? And sometimes you can cloud judgment when you're too close to a project, especially on the creative tip.
okay. Yeah, that reminded me of another band. You've heard of the Champs?
No, I have not.
Oh, I'm sure you remember the song Tequila. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, absolutely. Classic.
And that was one of those songs that was on the B side because no one thought it would be any good. And it ended up going all the way to the top.
Oh, I mean, it's a timeless classic. Are you kidding? I mean, and sometimes that happens. Those songs that are an anomaly that you overlook, that everybody else seems to be attracted to and gravitate towards.
Okay, I'm still having internet problems, but we'll power through it.
Yeah, you're not breaking up or freezing on our end.
Yeah,
that's weird.
Perfect on our side. You froze up in the very, very beginning, but it hasn't happened since then.
You look
Okay.
good, Pavan.
Look like a million.
I don't look as good as Jeff. So one day I'll get those muscles. One
I
day.
have Oprah Winfrey lights, filters. I got everything on in here. I need all the help I can get. Don't even sweat.
Angel, you have a question for Jeff?
tell us some stories about like being on tour, things that like didn't go well and how you turned them around. And because obviously you guys had years of massive success touring. So how did you turn
That's a
those?
great question. You're like, tell us about the few times when there were these mishaps. Well, look, we're still touring many years later. We're almost into it, 30 years. And there are always mishaps. There's not a show that doesn't have at least one mishap. And at some point you just start to get used to it. And of course, in the beginning, it would petrify us. I mean, but after so much experience, you learn to adapt, right? And ultimately you keep in the back of your mind that the fans are there to see you. And that as long as you don't waver, and as long as you don't look as if you're insecure or underconfident, the fans will never know. Even though the sound system can go out, for us, we're lucky, we all sing. We're a 4-part, a true quartet, tenor, tenor, baritone, bass. So we had times where we'd be in huge arenas in front of 20,000 people where the sound would cut off. And what we would do, well, sit at the bottom of the stage and sing a cappella as loud as we could, right? And sometimes that would actually make the experience more memorable. So it's sort of that old cliche, turning lemons into lemonade. You ultimately have to pivot, and you know, after so much experience, you learn to adapt. And all of us have the gift of gab. We probably talk too much, so you know, at least one of us will cover for the other guy. Or you know, look, there have been times we played outside. I remember in Philadelphia there was ice on the stage, and of course, I slip on the ice and my microphone flies out into the crowd. You know, Philly's not an easy, you know, they're a great fan base, but they will kill you. Yeah. And so, you know, it didn't go over so well. Or you're in the wrong, you know, we would have these cities, tours where we do 60+ cities, and you say the wrong, what's up, Cleveland? Oh, no, we're in Detroit. Not good. Not a good idea. You know, but, or, you know, my pants ripped on stage. Or I got sick. We had a huge radio show for a big station called KTU in New York, and we're doing this radio show, and all of a sudden I had the flu, and I was about to do my lead line. Nick was singing his part and literally go in the back, throw up in a trash can, and come out and sing the rest of it. I mean, you name it, it's happened to us. And in the beginning, we went from, you know, when I first started my other group, we were so nervous we would have to drink a 6-pack at least to get up on stage, and originally we would have our backs to the audience. That's how nervous we were about performing, you know. To just getting up there and winging it. And as long as, like I said, as long as you have the confidence, and people will give you a break. You know, it's not like social media where you have these keyboard warriors that destroy you every second. You know, your fans are there for you, and they're very forgiving, and it makes you human too. You know, those things that are real, and those moments that are intimate, and when you're vulnerable, if you're able to pull through it, people are rooting for you. So I don't wish for those things to happen. You want it to run smoothly, but if they do, yeah, it just kind of keeps you on your toes, makes you pivot a little bit, and again, you know, make the best of it.
That's awesome. Now, I like what you said about you've been touring for 30 years.
So do I, because we didn't expect it to be this long. I mean, anytime that you can last in this business, and all business is tough. But the entertainment business, it's a roller coaster ride, and you know, your shelf life is a couple of songs, or one song. So if you're able to last more than 5 years, 3 years, let alone 30 years, it's a true blessing. I mean, we're grateful that we've been able to come back after many, many years. We took a break even, which makes it even harder to come back. But fortunately for us, I mean, we had amazing fans. Most of them were very young. You know, at the time when we were in our early 20s, we were bummed because we were singing for, you know, sometimes 13, 12-year-old kids. But many years later, we're appreciative of it, because they're still around. And really, when you're a young guy or a young person going out to pursue this, you go, all right, what are my objectives, right? You're a guy, you want to get rich, you want to get famous, you want to meet girls, and all of those things, they happen. But really what happens is you end up discovering that you're empowered by what you do for a living. It's much more beyond what your short-sighted goals are in the beginning. And so we didn't take that for granted. Early on, we saw the effect that we could have on people with our music, and by being role models. And so it ended up making us mature very, very quickly. And I'm very thankful for that, because outside of the surface stuff that people see or people covet when they want to be in a business like that, there's so much more to it, and so much more rewarding than folks even expect or know. So we're very, very blessed to have been around this long. And as long as people are buying tickets and they're coming to see us and show enthusiasm for our music, we're going to stick around and do it.
I can tell you, when I was a teenager, the first time I cried in my life was when Van Halen broke up.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the impact. And of course, we didn't know that. But then when you're doing things for kids and Make-A-Wish, and their last wish is to meet you, it blows your mind. You're like, whoa, like, maybe I should kind of reevaluate what's important. And that's the impact that music has in general on people. It affects people in a way that traditional communication, for whatever reason, sometimes might not get across. And it's a cool aspect and a cool responsibility to embrace and be a part of. It's a gift.
Yeah. So what's the secret to keep, I mean, your team has been together for 30 years now. Van Halen saw success and they broke up, a few years into that success. So what's the secret to keeping your team together and going strong?
I think always communication is very, very important. Honesty, communication, growth, and respect. I mean, among other things. I mean, those are the things I can think of off of the top of my head. Look, everybody, you have to have a certain element, a magnitude of an ego to want to get up on stage and have people look at you, right? So, and people will be like, no, it's the love of the music. Okay. But if it's the love of the music, sit in the studio all day and make it for other people, right? So you like the attention to a certain degree. And when you're in a group, everybody has their level of attention that they're seeking. Now, some are going to obviously surface as the leads, but for us, it was always trying to balance and make sure we're respectful of each other. And it wasn't easy in the beginning, because we went from struggling for a couple of years and to overnight success, it seemed like, because we went from our label didn't want to put us on television and our pictures on the cover of magazines or on our CD cover. We were signed to Motown Records, which is traditionally an urban label, right? So they wanted the powers that be at the label wanted the public to think we were a Black group, that we were an urban group. So they didn't put our imagery on anything. They wanted to fool the public. So we went from going and buying our own CDs and requesting our own records to then being on shows like TRL and MTV Beach House and Nickelodeon and all of these Disney, all these very mainstream programs. And so all of a sudden, a year ago, I was going into the record store, buying the 3 CDs that we had in there myself, and requesting our own music on the radio, to like not being able to get out of our bus or our van, or our hotel room already had girls in there that we had to have escorted out, so it was kind of crazy. And even if you're level-headed and blue collar like we are, and hardworking and raised the right way by our folks, it will mess with your ego a bit, and you have to constantly take a deep breath, put it in perspective, and go, all right, this wasn't real. Remember, 2 weeks ago, nobody knew who we are. So put it in perspective. And what you do is you try to balance that with the guys in the group. And not only that, what gets interesting is you might not even change that much, but the people around you will. So your management team, your agents, your friends, your family will even change. And so the one thing that's very important is to keep the perspective, stay grounded, stay respectful, and grow. You keep growing. You keep learning from the experience, and you keep humbling yourself with the experience, as opposed to like buying into the hype and believing in the hype. And we've always did a really great job of checking each other up and being respectful of each other, being honest with each other. And I think that a lot of groups aren't honest with each other. They harbor ill will as opposed to communicating it with each other. And I think we did a fair job of doing that. Wasn't perfect, but we did a good enough job that we, love each other like brothers and respect each other. And so I think that's why we're still together.
Can you tell us a little bit about your current projects? I know you mentioned coming to Arizona sometime soon. I don't know if you can elaborate into that
Well, yeah,
situation. I would love to go. So
I've been talking to there's a venue right by the stadium called Heritage that I've been talking about trying to program some events with them. It's right next to the Cardinal Stadium there, and they're building a big resort. And one of my good friends, Howard Weiss, is going to run the entertainment there, and he's talked about us bringing us there. But also myself, I'm working with a lot of acts behind the scenes, produce a lot of music, been working on some unscripted and scripted television and film, and booking acts are all over the world. And 98 Degrees, we're fortunate enough to be a global act. So we have some plans domestically and internationally to tour. And then, we're releasing new music for the first time in many, many years. We're re-recording our old masters so we can own them, and some new songs. So we're lucky to be busy and fortunate enough to keep busy and out there. And this is very interesting for me because I've been doing some public speaking and motivational speaking on and off for several years at colleges, and spoke at Full Sail University, which I'm a big fan of. And so, anytime that I have an opportunity to share with people that you can go out there and achieve your dream, and it is right there within your grasp, I kind of jump at that opportunity. So, just keeping busy and balancing, of course, family life, which is the most important thing. And I'm fortunate enough to have a great wife and great kids that are understanding. And my schedule permits me to be flexible at this point in my career, that I can be home and not miss too many things. So I've been very, very, very lucky up to this point.
So when you got married, you must have broken a lot of hearts.
Well, I don't know about that. I think that it's interesting. You would think that fans have a proper perspective on stuff, but they do for the most part. They realize they're fans, but there are a few out there that do think that they would be, your spouse or your girlfriend. And I do know some band members that married, their fans and whatnot. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. Breaking hearts, I'm not sure about that, but I'm very, very blessed. I have an amazing wife. She's a great partner. She definitely has changed my life because this business is treacherous. And I met her, it's been a roller coaster ride. I met her when I was just coming back up, and she really kind of helped me get things into perspective, helped take care of things for me personally, that enabled me to kind of get my career really, really back on track and better than ever. So the importance of having a good support system is, it's essential. I don't think people know how important that is.
And good support system comes from good values, good grounded values, and good mindset and clean living.
Yeah, all of those things are essential. You have to have elements of all of those things. There are a lot of prongs that lead to success, right? And if one's out of balance, you're not going to have the ultimate success. You might be successful professionally, but not personally, or vice versa. You need to have all of those things in place. And for me, I think, trying to keep up with it, trying to stay in shape, trying to keep a good mentality, meditate, journal. Journaling's so important. I don't think people understand it. They hear it, they read it in these self-help books, they roll their eyes, but journaling for me, I don't think I would be here if I didn't write my goals down and what it took to achieve them early on. I think that that's really, really important, because subconsciously when you write those goals, you set your mind up to put yourself in motion to achieve them. You program yourself to achieve them. And a lot of people don't believe that, but I 100% believe in that.
So along the lines of the things that, you do for yourself to achieve those goals and live in the, the way that you're wanting and honoring your values, you mentioned the people around you oftentimes will change, including your family. So can you talk to us about, how you set boundaries or, stay in that level-headed mindset when the people around you aren't necessarily?
It's very tough because you don't want to disappoint anybody. Because people are very quick to say you changed, or you eliminated them, or you ignored them. But in fact, they change. And so, and if you're a person that really sets boundaries, like you said, I'm one of those people that doesn't like toxic environments, nonsense, right? Being one of them, right? So you have to set those boundaries because it will distract you from your goal. I'm not saying not not pay attention to people that you care about or listen to their problems, I don't have a problem doing that at all. I love being there for other people, but some people will create drama to distract you, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, right? They might not know they're doing it, but a lot of people that are close to you don't like when you go out and set a goal and achieve it, especially if it's one of those very unique and far-reaching sounding goals, because what it ends up doing is causing them to self-reflect and make them feel like they're not living up to their potential, which I'm not a person that judges other people based on their achievements. I judge other people based on them and their personalities and how they treat other people. But unfortunately, people expect that you expect them to do these things that you're doing, and then they end up envying you, and that might not even be the behavior that you're exhibiting. And I know that sounds complicated, but in that process, you suddenly have to, spend less time with those people. And it's unfortunate. It could be the closest people in the world to you and good friends. And look, I've been in different situations where someone will say, hey man, your best friend did this, or your boy did this, or your guy did this. And I have to go, well, I didn't do it, and you end up becoming guilty by association. So then you unfortunately have to limit your time with those people and your engagement with those people, because it'll start to become a distraction. And what happens with that is it snowballs into becoming a full-time job, right? And you can't do that. So while some people might say you're being a difficult person, or you're being snobby, or you've become stuck up, really you're just kind of keeping your focus and limiting your time with negativity. I think it's essential that you keep negative energy out. Again, not to ignore people that have a problem or need to lean on you for something. That's totally different. Then you're there for them. But if it's something that's negative, that just requires negative attention, I don't deal with that. I cut it out of my life.
I love that mindset. So going back to projects that you guys are working on, and like you said, you've been touring for 30 years. What are the conversations that you guys have as a group as far as, changing with the times and what things you do want to change, and also honoring, all of us that love what you've been doing for the past 30 years? Where do you find that balance?
That's an excellent question. Because what happens is we talked about this in the very beginning. You start to overthink things. You overthink the art and try to be super creative. And now we're in our 30s, or now we're in our 40s, and now we're in our 50s. Right? You go, oh, well, I want to be cool, so I'm going to change my sound, and we're going to add all these cool elements. And for us, it was like we sang ballads, we sang love songs, we sang harmonic songs, lyric songs. Romantic songs. That was what we did. It just came naturally to us, and that's what people liked, and that's what they consumed. But we saw NSYNC, they're dancing, right? We can't dance, but I can't. I don't want to speak for the rest of the guys. One of our guys won Dancing with the Stars, but I can't dance. I'm the weak link. So, we thought, all right, let's have some dance songs and try to dance, and it didn't work. And so it took us a long time. So we had several albums, and then we tried to change our sound, and then we came back after a 10-year break, and then we tried to do some different things. So this album is called Full Circle, and it's not just to plug the album, but it's to your point. We've come full circle. We're going to do the stuff that we love and our fans love, and we're not going to try to fool people or try to pull the wool over somebody's eyes or force feed something that's different that they don't like. We're going to do things that are true to us, true to our sound, and true to our fan base. And so it takes a long time to do that. And there's, a certain amount of humility that you have to go, all right, well, look, that's not us. We can do it, and it sounds good, but people it won't be genuine, and people won't believe it. And so I think it's important to, and that's not to say you don't want to explore things creatively, but I also think that, you can overthink it, and you can do things that can alienate people that love you for the things that they fell in love with you for. So I think it's very important to kind of, figure that out and not waver too much from it while still maintaining creative juices and keeping control of the creativity of it. An example is production's different now. The sounds are different now. You can use modern day sounds, but still have the same vibe, embody that. And that balance has to be there for you to be current and relevant, yet, true to your fans.
How do you balance? I know you kind of talked about that already, maybe, but like your family life and your work life, how much time you try to spend with your family, your kids, your wife?
That's a good question. I mean, look, if it was back in the day, we were on the road for 5 years straight. So, I mean, there were no days off. In 2 years, I think it was like either 98 and 99 or 99 and 2000. We had a total of 7 days off during that time, total. So it was impossible at that time to balance family. Now, my family can't wait for me to go on tour. I'm home all the time. They're like, don't you got a tour to go on? Like, you're here like 24 hours a day. Hi, I'm here. So you see this room right here? I have a really cool house and all that, but this is the only place I'm really allowed to go. They don't let me anywhere else. So the balance is I probably need to be on the road more. So we'll go on the way we do it, and I'm joking a little bit, but not too much. The way we do it is we want to be with our families. We all have kids. I have 5 kids. 3 of them are grown up and out of the house, and I have 2 left here, and we're all family guys. And so, we spend most of the time with our families. They're with us. And when we do go on the road, we've crafted it. Sometimes if we're doing a big tour, they can come with us. And we did a 42 city tour with New Kids and Boys to Men. And we all had our own tour buses, and the kids were everywhere. And that was crazier than we were single, with all those kids running around and families. But that was tough for them because they were in a different city, although it was a great experience for them that not a lot of kids get to see or do. It was rough on them, being on the road. Being on the road is treacherous because, the travel's crazy. It's hard to sleep. You're kind of time zones are weird. Your biochemistry is messed up. So we were like, okay, let's cut a balance. And so now we do these things where we just go out for little stretches, like 2 or 3 weeks, and we come home. And during those times, we fly them out at certain locations, or if it's a driving distance, there's ways to do it. And it's not always that way, because when we were grinding, when we were first popular during the heyday, we had to keep grinding or it was going to be over. But now we all do different things. Fortunately, we all have had success outside of this as well. So we can craft and create what we do together, which is, again, I hate to keep using the same thing, but it's a blessing that you can create your life and set your schedule like that. And our fans allow us to do that. So it's not as hard as it used to be to balance it out. Like I said, my family can't wait to get rid of me. So,
so I got to ask this. So you're young and you're a rock star, and all the lights are on you and all the attention is on you, and the money is flooding in on you. How did you stay clean and grounded and consistent and avoid all the temptations that were thrown at you that time?
Honestly, and this is not something that I would advise, but it was fear. So the fear of failure, the fear of losing your spot, the type A drive. I mean, that's how we did it. And, we all drink and party and stuff like that. None of us are into drugs, but I didn't drink during our run because we had so much stuff. And I'm not saying that I'm good in two shoes. I'll have drinks and have drinks with people now and stuff like that and go out. But during that run, you just didn't have enough time to recover. And we were young and in shape, but it was such a grind. You were in a different city every day. Your schedule was packed for several years straight. And I just wanted to be clean. For me, it was so crazy in the beginning when we first started having a lot of success that I had to find something to get myself balanced. And so I went, when I had like an hour off, to a bookstore and got a book on yoga and meditation. And so I went back to my roots. I like to read, and started finding, motivational books, inspirational books, and, got into yoga and meditation. Even if I was doing it by myself for 20 minutes a day in the morning or at the end of the day or both in my hotel room, I would have to find a way to get quiet in my mind, deep breaths, stretch, and keep it together. And so that helped me a lot because it is crazy. It was crazy. It was like a whirlwind. Like there was something going on 24 hours a day. 7 days a week for several years. And it was hard to discern what was real, what wasn't, who's on your team, who's stealing, who's not. Most of them steal. And you gotta like find something to keep yourself grounded. So for me, meditation, reading, you know, if we're on a plane or in the bus, that was a vacation from what was going on, right? Like learning about something else or focusing my mind outside of what I was doing for my entire personal and professional life for several years. And I think some of those I still do today. So working out and you know, a lot of people say, oh, you're working out because you want to look good for being on stage. Of course, that's part of it, because people still expect you to look good like you did in your 20s, and they'll kill you if you don't. But the main reason is for, you know, mental stability and, you know, keep the nervous energy out of there. So meditation, yoga, working out, deep breathing, journaling, you know, all those things that kind of get you out of the madness for a little bit, I think are important. And then family, you know, I have family now. So, you know, back then, like I said, the friends were kind of indulging on, you know, living vicariously through us. So they weren't really always there like you would expect them to be, because they were rock stars themselves, right? So, you know, I think that those things that you can do as an individual are very important, you know, and those apply to any business and any career. I think you need to keep mind, body, spirit in check, or at least as much as you can in balance, you know, good diet, you know, and everybody's diet's different, but, you know, I've been on keto diet for 25, Atkins or keto diet for 25, 30 years. So just to stay, you know, balanced.
Excellent. So we're almost out of time. I think last one or two questions. So a little bit about your family. How long have you been married, and how many kids do you have? And
well, I'm
how
on my
old are you?
second one, so obviously you try to learn. But I've been married for 13 years, and my wife's been amazing. Yeah, she's incredible. Her name's Amanda. She handles everything. She's like, just go to work. I got everything else covered. And she helps me with my finances and contracts and decision making and home life, and just an amazing person to have in my life as a partner and a spouse. And, you know, I've got 5 kids. I had 2 from a previous marriage. She had 2 from a previous, and we have 1 together. So it was, for a while, my house was like the Brady Bunch here, but it was fun. It was so cool. And, you know, just all great kids, all very different personalities. They all do different things. And it's been fun being a part of their journey as well through all this. And interestingly enough, my older kids, we were on a hiatus during that time. So I was just a stay-at-home dad plucking away at music and placing songs for other people and in TV, and not much touring there. So when, you know, they were older, in their, you know, mid to late teens when we came back and went on tour, so they were like, this is what you do? And I'm like, well, yeah, you know, I tried to tell you I was cool. And they're like, no, you're still not cool. So, but they got to experience some cool stuff. But yeah, it's been a fun experience with them. I've grown with them, and it was, my stepkids are incredible. They're like my own kids, and very fortunate to have a second chance at marriage, because I didn't think I was going to do it again. I was like, after the first one, I'm good, I'll just be a dad. But it's been a really great experience for me as a person, like to have that other opportunity at marriage. And it's been a pretty incredible journey for me.
Are any of your kids going to follow dad's footsteps?
You know, it's such a crazy business that I would never encourage them to do it unless they really wanted to. So my older kids haven't really been into it, but the last one, the youngest one, she loves all of it. She likes to sing and dance and cheer and all that stuff, and wants to act. And I'm like, are you sure you want to do this? And of course, I'll support anything that any of the kids want to do, as long as they're productive and they're growing and being good people. So yeah, for me, I thought I was going to escape with nobody trying to, but the youngest one, who's 12, she likes it. So here we go.
Uh-oh. So the next Taylor Swift?
Well, I don't know. She wants to do it all. So we released a Christmas song together when she was like 9. So it's pretty crazy.
All right. Awesome. We got a couple of minutes left. Angel, Vanessa?
Well,
Just
I
I'll
know
piggyback
something that you probably don't know, but he's having a birthday tomorrow. So I want to know if he's got any plans, dinner, party.
Who, me?
Yeah. I read it online.
I thought I was getting away with this. Yeah.
No, I did my research, so tell us about your plans for tomorrow.
You know how it goes when you get older, you try to like forget about the birthday. So I've been trying. My wife always does cool stuff for me. You know, I don't know. We'll probably just go to dinner. I just, when I'm home, I live in Vegas, which everybody's like, oh my God. Look, like I said, this room, I don't leave, let alone the house. But you know, I try to be kicked back when I'm at home. So, you know, maybe go to dinner, do something laid back and cool. They all like to go and do fun stuff on their birthday. I just like to sit around and just be with them, you know? So, but thank you for remembering that.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Jeff.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Happy
So
birthday.
if-
Thanks for joining us for your birthday.
Oh my gosh, it's been a pleasure. Like I said, anytime I can come and talk about this and encourage anybody to go follow their dream, and everybody's got the tools to do it. You know, you just have to focus on it. The self-belief's one thing though that I think is really, really important, because throughout this process, everybody around you will second guess it. You'll have a couple of supporters there, but I think self-belief's the main thing. And then, you know, vision, goals, and, you know, putting thoughts into action are quite important. So anytime I can talk about that, encourage people to go out there and follow their dreams, it's a very rewarding thing for me as well. So thank you for taking the time and inviting me, and continued success to you guys. And please have me back. I'd love to meet you in person at one point as well. So
Excellent. Thank you for your time, Jeff. Happy birthday.
thank
And
you.
for all the fans out there, please wish Jeff happy birthday on Instagram.
26 for the 26th time. So
Cheers.
see you guys. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. You have a good
Bye-bye.
day. Bye.